Hi there, and welcome to the third episode of Career Stories Live. So I'm here today with Celia Thatcher. I'm really pleased to have you joining me. Welcome, Celia.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
No problem. So as always, anyone that's watching, please do comment and let us know that you're here, where you're from. Feel free to ask any questions or share your experience in the comments. So Celia, I met about 10 years ago. She was the deputy head teacher at the time at my son's infant school, and we were on a parent forum together. So it's always a really good relationship. And then earlier this year, she popped up in my LinkedIn feed having a new role in cybersecurity. So given I'm a career coach, I just thought that was a really, really interesting switch. And I thought I would really like to get Celia on to chat about that. So the basis for these lives really is to give people advice on how to switch careers, how to move careers, how to develop in your current career. So that's really the basis. So going to go straight over to Celia and just ask you to tell us a little bit about what it is you do now, Celia.
Okay, so hi Sarah, hi everyone who's watching. So I work for a company called NetUtils. I've been with them for about 7 months now. And NetUtils sell networking and cybersecurity solutions to businesses from sort of 10 employees all the way up to big enterprise businesses. I'm part of the sales team, of which there's 4 of us. And yeah, so part of my role is supporting my customers. So I've been recently given some customers that I support. I do prospecting, so I do a lot of work on LinkedIn. We're trying to develop leads there and bringing in new business. And I do some other marketing, sort of small amount of marketing in terms of networking, both in person and on LinkedIn. So we're part of the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce, and then some email prospecting as well. So yeah. So
pretty varied.
Yeah.
And sounds very busy.
It's very busy at the moment. It's really busy.
Is it? Excellent. Okay. So what was it that made you move away from teaching? Because obviously you were doing that for a fair while, moving up to head teacher in your last position.
Yeah. So I was a head teacher for 9 years, and then so I've been in education for about 20 years. And I guess it was something that I always thought I would do and didn't really think that I would ever do anything else. And then 7 years ago, I started a family. I was a head teacher at the time. So took maternity leave out of being a head teacher. Then I had another child. So I went part-time, went to 4 days. And I started to find that the demands of being a head teacher and a mum was quite challenging. And just felt that I wasn't able to do either role justice.
Okay.
So started thinking about doing something else, but still felt very much that I was sort of stuck in education. Sort of public sector's a bit like that, you sort of feel a little bit like you can't do anything else. So it was just one day I met a friend locally, and we were having a drink and a chat, and he was talking to me about his role and what he did, and sort of made this flippant comment about how my skills might be transferable and that I could probably do that job too, to which I was sort of a little bit shocked, and went back to him a couple of days later and said, were you serious? And then we had further conversations, and sort of I looked into the company, talked to him a bit more, and then eventually that sort of led to an interview, and that's where I got to today. So yeah.
Excellent. So that's answered my next question, is how you got into your new role. So it was about your network, I guess, then. So someone that had been a friend.
Yeah. Okay. And I think I said to you that I did look into getting a careers coach sort of a couple of years ago, to try and explore those different options, but just never got around to doing it really. So I was lucky because the opportunity landed in my lap. But I think it was just really heartening to find out that my skills could be transferable into the corporate world, because I thought that education was all that I could do. So
yeah, I think I find that quite often with people that are working, like you say, in kind of government type roles, that they just feel that they couldn't get into the private sector. But as you say, the skills are transferable. So leading on from that, what would you say were your transferable skills? What did you identify would work going from teaching into cybersecurity?
So I think as a head teacher, you sort of learn to deal with so many different problems. So it's such a varied role, and sort of develop this emotional intelligence with dealing with so many different people. You deal with the children, you deal with the parents, you deal with the staff. So consequently, being able to deal with customers and sort of my colleagues within the cybersecurity sales side of things, that was definitely something that worked. So other things was sort of all that preparation of reports that I used to do as a head teacher, being able to sort of my written communication and verbal communication to a degree, was good. So I was able to sort of prepare proposals for customers, that kind of thing. So that's been really helpful. And I think some of this I didn't recognise as I sort of went into the new role. It's been sort of as I've doing the role, I can see, I used to do this as a head, but now it's slightly different, and then I think during the pandemic, sort of we had to do a lot of communication by video. We had to get messages out to parents, had to connect with the children in some way. So I had to sort of find some skills in video editing and, almost marketing in a way. So that's been really helpful in this new role as well.
Yeah, I guess like you say, it's just putting a slightly different emphasis on it. So you try to kind of imagine that parents are customers essentially. So it's the same skills, they're just given a kind of a different name.
Exactly. And I was trying to sell my school. I wanted, we used to have to do presentations to new parents to try and encourage them to come to our school rather than the school down the road. So all of that, sort of has prepared me for that sort of sales culture. So
and so timing wise, it's kind of coincided with COVID as well. So did COVID have an impact on your sort of thinking about leaving teaching as well, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. The workload ramped up, so it just became even more challenging to sort of balance that mum role and head teacher role. Definitely. And I think the other interesting side of it is that I probably wouldn't have got this job if sort of pre-pandemic, because the job would have looked so different, because one of the things I was really looking for was to enhance my work-life balance, be able to walk my children to school, be around for all of those sort of school events and things like that. So that wouldn't have been on the table pre-pandemic, because I would have been expected to go to the office, so it wouldn't have looked that different, but perhaps I wouldn't have been working sort of evenings and weekends quite so much.
And I guess you'd have been going out on sales visits to locations all around the country or whatever as well, wouldn't you?
Which I do have to do, but it's just not quite as regularly as having to go into school every day and be expected to be there. So I'm able to work from home the majority of the time. But
excellent. So I've just got a question in from Jeff Young. So Jeff's based in America, and he's actually coming on the show in a few weeks. So he's saying, I might have missed this at the beginning, but how did you find out about cybersecurity in the first place?
Okay, hi Jeff. My knowledge of cybersecurity was sort of little to none. So it's been an incredible learning journey, really. And I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed the most about the new role, just having new learning, and which I've totally embraced and really enjoyed it. And I know you're going to ask me about advice for anybody wanting to get into cybersecurity, and I think the thing I would say the most is never stop learning, because it just helps to empower you to offer the right services for your customers. So I've really enjoyed that aspect.
Excellent. So Jeff's known as a LinkedIn guru, so he's never stopped learning is a definite thing that he will love to hear you say. So that's cool. Thank you. Okay, so that was transferable skills. Now, what about values? I know you got into this role because you spoke to someone about it, so it kind of came to you almost. But would you say you would consciously think about your values when you were looking for an organisation to work for?
So I found that a really interesting question, because obviously you shared these beforehand so I could have a think about them. And I don't think I did consciously think about the values. But when I reflected on what happened, I was definitely thinking about my values in the conversations that I was having with Paul, my new boss. I knew that our values aligned just from knowing him and, from talking to him about the company. And then when I was asked to do my interview, I was asked to pitch something. So it was very sort of general kind of scenario. So I could do anything I wanted, really. So what I decided to do was pitch myself.
Right.
And as part of that presentation, I was saying the values that I had, like integrity and things like that, and was able to put those through on the presentation. And I think if the company hadn't sort of shared those values with me, then I wouldn't have been a right fit for them. So yeah, not consciously, but I was sort of, without realizing it, sharing some of those values with the company and hoping that we aligned.
Yeah, I think it's more and more important, isn't it? If you're looking for a job that's going to satisfy those needs, then it's really important to work out what your values are. And there's so many exercises online where you can kind of go on and get just lists of words, but actually they're really useful. It helps you reflect on the things that are really important to you. If you kind of go through and tick them all, and then maybe highlight the 3 or 4 that are most important, and you're not going to compromise on those. So I think it's great to do that. I've got another question coming in. So this is from Zlatka. So she's saying, my friend is in a similar situation. So she's an ex-head teacher looking for a better balance. Any tips of where to look? So anything from your experience, Celia?
Well, I think I would have definitely gone to a careers coach if I hadn't, had stumbled across this opportunity. So like we've said, I was really lucky to sort of have something almost land in my lap. Obviously, I had to go through all the formal, interview and application process, but it did sort of land quite easily for me. But if it hadn't have happened, I'd certainly be looking for something where I could work from home. And yeah, I'd get in touch with someone to sort of help me establish, like you say, the values, the skills that are transferable, that what they might sort of lend themselves nicely to explore my interests and what might float my boat. And I'm not sure if I'd have ended up in cybersecurity, but I would have found something that the bill.
Yeah, but I think going back to a conversation we had just before we kind of came online, as it was about your network as well, isn't it? So even now you're in your role, you found your network quite helpful, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. So within my role, I've had ex-parents and people from the previous from when I was a head teacher, and they've referred me to people that they work with. I've governors that I used to work alongside are within my network, and some of which are work in cybersecurity and have been really helpful having conversations with or just chatting on LinkedIn with. So I've met some for coffee, and then local networking as well, because my other half is a handyman locally. Anybody that he meets that's within the cyber world, he's introduced me to, and we've connected on LinkedIn and then sometimes met for a coffee. So I've been able to get advice and support that way as well.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing, isn't it? People, I think, in general, are quite scared about the whole idea of networking. But actually, if you think about it, it's the people and you're just having a chat with them, you never know where it's going to lead. And I've spoken before about, I had a chance conversation with a dad in the playground at school, because I had a client that was looking for a marketing role. I knew he worked in marketing recruitment. So he was like, oh, what is it you do? And then I ended up having a 1-day-a-week retainer for a couple of years at a company just because of that conversation, which you just don't know. So I think my advice to everybody would be, talk to your network, talk to people in the playground, if you're a teacher, talk to the parents. Obviously, if you're in a role, it's quite tricky to let people know that you're looking for a role.
Yeah.
But, there's definitely some options there. So thank you, says Zlatka. Got another message from Kevin. So he is saying, just listening with a coffee in his hand. So also from America. So it's a bit early in the morning here. There's like 7 or 8 o'clock, I think. Jeff saying, first or second cup, I'm already on my second. Excellent.
I think I'm on my 6th.
Oh, I only have 1 a day. Okay, so career highs. So can you think of any career highs you've had throughout your career?
Okay, so, I don't want to be too negative about education and teaching. It is all consuming. It does take up a huge amount of time, but there are some really fantastic parts about being in education. And one of them I particularly loved was all the Christmas nativity plays, you know, all the drama side of things, the team, all the people that I met along the way, and, you know, the learning that I did alongside them, and, you know, the things that they taught me. So the drama side of it, I mean, I even took into my spare time. So I used to put on productions when I was a teacher, not when I went into leadership, but I would put on productions, do lead stagecoach at the weekends. So all of that I absolutely loved, because it was preparing children for these kinds of situations, you know, where you have to speak to people, when you have to do interviews. You know, every job that they're going to experience in the future is going to involve some level of public speaking. So all of the drama skills was, you know, sort of really essential part of sort of life skills, preparation for the future. So yeah, really passionate about that. Loved that side of things. And we always went above and beyond. You know, we'd have these crazy costumes and, you know, backdrops, and I'd always be expecting loads from them, you know, even when they were sort of 5 years old. So yeah.
I think that's the reason I always ask people about their career highs is sometimes you can kind of see a pattern. So for me, if I go back and look at all my career highs, it's been when I've been given like a really vague thing to do, which freaks a lot of people out, but actually that really energizes me. So then I would know, if I'm looking for a piece of work, I need someone who's not going to be controlling, who's not, you know, so it just helps you to work out, alongside the values, what are the things you've really enjoyed. And like you just mentioned then, actually, about doing some of that stuff that you enjoyed in the weekends, that is some of the things I talk to the clients about. So it might be that your work can't satisfy everything that you really enjoy, but actually you've now got more time to do that kind of stuff at the weekend. So I think it's really useful exercise to think about that kind of thing. I've just seen Kevin commented again, so he's only on his first coffee, but it's a deep cup. Excellent. Okay. What about any career lows or challenges? Anything there that you want to mention, and how you moved away from it?
I think we've already sort of covered it to an extent, just because that would be about that sort of feeling that I wasn't achieving in either role as a mum. So yeah, that was quite disheartening. So you know, in a job, you want to feel valued, you want to feel that you're doing well, you want to feel that you're making a difference. And yeah, I just sort of felt like I was just racing around trying to sort of cover everything. So yeah.
And I'm sure that you were, having worked for you through the school before, I'm sure you were doing an excellent job. But I know what you mean. If you feel like you're under that much pressure, it's really difficult to then enjoy what you're doing, isn't it? You're just literally going from step to step.
Yeah, and trying to prioritize, you know, children, or, you know, trying to book supply for tomorrow, you know, that kind of thing.
No, it's definitely a challenge. So people that are thinking of starting in teaching, obviously you did enjoy teaching, you know, so what advice would you give to people who are looking to start out in that teaching profession?
Okay, so I mean, it is a wonderful job. It really is, you know, and you can get so much out of it. I think the main advice that I would give would be prepared to work really hard, but draw a line in the sand and be really clear from the beginning about where your boundaries are in terms of your work-life balance, because the job is all-consuming. Your jobs list will be, you know, this long, no matter what stage of your career you're at, you know, whichever year group you're teaching, there'll always be more to do. And I think you've just got to be able to say, okay, this is the line. I keep my Saturdays and Sunday mornings completely free. You know, that's my time. And then Saturday or Sunday afternoon is the time that I do my planning, or, you know, Tuesday evening, I'm going to work really late, or whatever it is, however you best want to organize it. I think that would be the best advice, because I feel like if I'd have said that to myself as a younger teacher, then, you know, I might have been able to manage that work-life balance as my life changed. Because I was, you know, single for a lot of the time, you know, and give a lot to it. You know, you can just give and give and give and give and give. And there's always more to do. So, until you sort of settle down with the family, you suddenly realise how much you might be needed at home. You can lose a bit of sense of yourself, like you were talking about the weekends, and making sure that you do the things that interest you as well. So definitely, you keep that sense of yourself.
Yeah, and you mentioned the team earlier, didn't you, as being one of the things that were high. So I guess that would probably be a bit of useful advice for people as well, isn't it, to make the most of the team and work out what everyone's strengths are and all of that kind of stuff as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah. And whether you work in a small school or a big school, there's just a real sense of community about working in a school, which there is in some companies. I know that too, but I think there's something special about working in a school community. You know, you really are part of something special.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So would that be one of your values as well, then, looking at a community of an organisation?
Yeah, definitely. It's the way we all support each other, and you know, yeah, because most people who become teachers and teaching assistants and who want to work in education are people who are predominantly kind, giving, you know, just want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just becomes this really supportive network that you work within.
Yeah, excellent. So I've got another comment from Jeff. So he's saying, I think this chat is a good wake-up call, more coffee reference, for anyone thinking of changing careers. It seems a far journey from head teachers to cybersecurity. So yeah, it does. It is a really interesting switch. But like you've said, the transferable skills are definitely there.
It was a leap of faith. So you know, I was definitely nervous about making that change, but I knew I had to do something. And I think it was sort of a case of thinking, okay, well, let's give it a go. And if it works, fantastic. And if it doesn't, it's a stepping stone into something else. So it's just being brave enough to sort of make that first step and then see where it leads.
Yeah. I think that's it, isn't it? I was actually talking to someone this morning who's been in a role for 20 years and wanting to make a change. And he was saying it is that bravery thing of, it seems to work for everyone else, but what if I'm the one that it's not going to work for? And I think if you've got that attitude, like you said there about, okay, it could be a stepping stone, then that's great, isn't it? But going back to the whole values piece, I think you can get quite a good sense of an organisation at the interview if you go in with the right questions as well.
Definitely.
Excellent. Okay, so what about? Sorry, I missed that then. So we have talked briefly about this, but any advice for people wanting to get into cybersecurity? So I'm thinking when we spoke, you were talking about how many options there are at the moment to get into this area in general.
Yeah. So in the tech sort of area, there's a massive gap in skills. So you know, you will be snapped up if you want to go to university and skill up as somebody in cybersecurity tech side of things, because we're desperate for people like that. In terms of sales, that's a bit different, and I think I mentioned earlier about sort of just being prepared to learn a lot, because the cybersecurity field is ever evolving. It's not going anywhere. I think that's the safety in it. You know that cybersecurity is going to be needed for the future, you know, sort of ongoing, because we're just getting more and more technological. But it's being prepared to just keep on learning and not standing still, because the technology is evolving all the time.
Yeah, that's good. And I guess you've also got the opportunity, haven't you, for something like cybersecurity to go into a company that specialises in cybersecurity, like you are, or going into an organisation that's, I don't know, a big company with a cybersecurity function. So you've got that option as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, good. Okay. And there are loads of courses on LinkedIn Learning as well for anyone that's interested in that. So you could go on and start teaching yourself on there as well. So the resources there, I think, are really, really useful. Okay, so any advice really for those people that are in teaching and are wanting to transfer to something new? So maybe something you would have told yourself, or just other people that are going through the same. And you've kind of touched on this from Zlaka asking earlier, but
yeah, I think it's just about being brave and having that courage to make that step. You know, we've talked about assessing your values and your skills and all of that, and thinking about what you want for that next step. But I think I thought that I was stuck, and I guess my advice is you're not stuck. You know, you absolutely have got skills that are transferable to something that you're going to enjoy in the future. So yeah, there's so many opportunities out there. The more I get into LinkedIn, the more different fields I can see that, you know, are available. And every time I work with a new customer, you know, it's really fascinating to learn about their business. and you see how big the world is out there.
Yeah.
I think being 20 years in education, that's all you can see. So
Yes.
just not aware of all of these different options that are there. So
Yeah.
sort of, I guess the advice is sort of bring your head out of the education and look what's out there and see what fits.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing that is unique to teachers, I guess, is the notice period as well. So that must be quite tricky, I guess, if you've got to give, is it half a term for a kind of a teacher and a term for a head teacher, something like that? So
that's right. I was really lucky that the company was prepared to wait for me. So I think I got the job in very early January and then didn't start till May. So so that is a challenge. But I think if you're the right fit for the company will, make it work.
Yeah, excellent. So a couple more comments. So Jeff saying, kudos to you, Celia, for being brave enough to give it a go.
Thank you, Jeff.
And John, who was on last week, saying that courage opens up so many doors. That's very true, John. Thank you. And then Paul is saying, in theory, I'm her boss these days, but in truth, she's mine. So interesting. You got any feedback back to Paul for that, Celia?
I don't really know what to say to that.
I think that's definitely a compliment. Okay. So we are about out of time, really. So thank you again, Celia, for coming on. It's been really interesting, and I'm sure loads of people are going to get value out of this afterwards. So what I'll probably be doing is sharing it with kind of different hashtags for teachers and things like that, so that hopefully other teachers that are thinking of moving on will get some advice. Have you got any kind of top tips for moving your career forward? So based on your experience, so this can be in teaching in general, in cybersecurity, whatever works really.
I guess just be open to new learning and be brave. Yeah,
Excellent, thank you. Oh, I'm just seeing another comment. Once a head teacher, always a head teacher.
Yeah, fair point.
I'm thinking that is organisation, excellent communication skills, and brilliant marketing. So thank you very much to everyone that's leaving all the comments. That's really nice. Thanks to Celia. So for future weeks, I'm inviting people who are experienced in their careers, who have made dramatic career changes. Got lots of people already booked in. Next week, I'm actually on Wednesday instead of Friday, and I've got James Baggott coming on. So he is also from near Reading, and he's going to be talking about his experience of working as a learning support assistant, job seeking, and writing about neurodiversity. So that's going to be a really interesting conversation. And Mrs. Hunter, well, there you go. Inspirational. Thank you, Celia. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much to everyone that's watching, and thank you again, Celia, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.